So, good morning from me. First of all, thank you very much to Indos for hosting this event together with us, and also to TCS helping us to set up this event. What we're doing at the moment is it's an exciting time for us because Solution Manager 7.2 is currently in early adopter care, what used to be called ramp up. Now we call it early adopter care. Honestly, I don't know what the difference is, but there probably is a difference. It looks very promising. We're hoping to release Solution Manager 7.2 officially in August. This is currently the plan for every customer who wants to take part in the early adopter program. If you go for S4 HANA, then you're automatically accepted, but I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But first of all, let me quickly say a few personal words. I've been with SAP now for over 20 years, and I started with the SAP Solution Manager topic in the year around 2000. It's when I still remember when my boss came to me and said that we have a new idea, we want to start a new tool. At that point we were mostly running the ASAP tool set. Maybe for those of you who started late 90s to manage the 2000 change, and we had ASAP tools, and we said, you know, these were offline tools, and at this point we had some new technology, so Gerd Oswald, our board member, said we need to put these tools onto an SAP platform, and we need to start kind of anew with these tools. And then we were only a few people, and my boss called me and said, you know, do you want to take over solution management for all of this? And I said, no, I have so many other fantastic things that I'm doing right now. I was responsible for, I did solution management for archiving and all these things, so, and I said, no, I'm not interested. But then he called me into his office, and I walked out with his opinion an hour later. And I still remember, and that's really the point that I want to make, we started very small. There's a couple of people thinking about what we can do, and I still remember, I call it the dark years, when we started to talk in public about Solution Manager, and at that point we had two tools, one for operation, one for implementation, and people were not interested, and there were only few people in the sessions that we were offering. And this has changed, and I have to say, I feel humbled, and I'm very excited to see so many people here, that you all came. I mean, with the background that I've told you, I mean, Germany, we started with a small team, and now we're here in India, which is far away from Germany, and we have more than 100 people here, all excited about SAP Solution Manager. I had the chance to talk to some of you before we started. And I could see many happy faces, and that's very nice. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much again for being with us this morning. Now, okay, so this officially have to say that as we are not in GA, there's still some things where I have to be cautious because it's roadmap. But what I'm going to be talking about today is where I'm really confident that all of the things that we are explaining today will also be shown. And I'm glad that I'm getting some support here from my colleagues in India, because we have a terrific team here in India, and we are in close contact, and there's a lot of knowledge exchange going on between us and the team in India. So I feel you are very well supported by the team here, and that's why we're also doing this keynote together. Now, 7.2, if you take just a look at the release numbers, we have 7.1 right now, and we have 7.2. So the initial reaction that I'm sometimes getting from customers is, that's only a minor step, right? Because otherwise you would have called it 8.0. And this is truly not the case. Okay? It is a big step forward, as you will see. And there's nothing to be afraid of, because I think it's very promising, the things that we are offering. But it is a major step forward in many ways, as you will see. And this first slide is really the result of a lot of thinking internally. Why? Because it is a release where lots of things were done and were changed and overhauled. And then our marketing guys come and say, Matthias, I need this one slide from you that kind of sums up Solution Manager 7.2 on one slide, because that needs to be included in all SAP presentations and so on. And then it's really tough to do this, you know, when you have, on one hand, if you take a look at the official rollout presentations, probably 200, 300 slides, I don't know. I mean, then my team and I myself, I'm reaching out to all of the experts, and they're giving me all these long lists of the things that they have done and all the things that the customers request, and I say, boy, I mean, how can I put all of this on one slide, you know? Practically impossible, and this is the result. So, and the nice thing about this slide is it really focuses on the basics. So let me walk you through the ideas real quickly. So take a look on the circle left-hand side, new user experience. Today what we are seeing is where in 7.1 we do have many types of different interfaces. Okay, so to be very blunt, the hope that this zoo of interfaces goes away with 7.2, this hope will not come true. Okay, so I have to really disappoint you at this point, and now that I've disappointed you, I can come with a good message. We have done some really new things on the interface, so you will see this later on in a live demo. We have introduced Fiori to Solution Manager at the very beginning, the Fiori Launchpad, very nice. We have also made it easier, and then on the operations side, where we did away with a lot of these interface technologies, and it's now all SAP UI5. So we have streamlined the interface. We have also made the implementation portion look simpler. You will see this also later on in a demo. So that means from a user experience perspective, we have invested into Solution Manager, and also, and this is something that we are, that's an offer to you as to all other user groups in the world. We are hoping to, we want to engage with you and want to improve the user interface going forward on 7.2 based on the input and the focus areas that we receive from you. What we do in Germany, and as I tend to say, as I'm also based in Germany, I cannot avoid the German user group. They're just all around me. So that means they can always quickly catch me and say, Matthias, you know, there's something that we need to change. But all of the other user groups also have the same opportunity to work with us. And we're really looking forward to an active dialogue about improving the user interface going forward. But there's so much that we need to improve in terms of just the scope of what needs to be done. So we're really looking at the users and companies to help us find the right spots where the investment is well made, so that most customers benefit from the improvement. So again, keep in mind Launchpad apps and dashboards, and we will see this in a demo pretty soon, what we have done. Next thing is process management. Take a look at what we, just step back and take a look at what we did in 7.1. In 7.1, we offered a new CRM part, so that means the service desk and change request management. We had new CRM embedded, so we had a significant step forward. We also invested a lot into the operations part. So if you take a look at Solution Manager, you can basically slice it into two big areas. It's the operations pieces, it's the CRM-based pieces, and it's the implementation part. And the implementation part, we made some changes in the past to it, but it has stayed the same since we started Solution Manager. It's pretty old in 7.1, and also the interfaces are really old. And then we decided that in 7.2 it was the right time to really make some significant changes in the implementation part. You will see this later on. We have a graphical modeling interface now built in, which is really nice. I mean, probably you remember on 7.1 we offered a component which you could use on top of Solution Manager, kind of an UI add-on. People were excited when we positioned it, but then they tried it out and they came back with so many requests, and then we learned that just a simple interface improvement was not enough. People wanted to have more, and that's what we did. So we totally changed the implementation part of Solution Manager, and we did this at the right point in time, because it's really nice that the S4 HANA release and the release of Solution 7.2 basically happened at the same point in time. And we will be talking later on also about the integration of Solution Manager 7.2 with S4 HANA, because here we're also making a significant step forward. So the overall recommendation from SAP, from us, is if you're going for an S4 HANA adoption, and if possible, go for 7.2, because the options that Solution Manager 7.2 offers, and also the integration with the content that SAP is delivering, so that comes from the group that does the Activate content, for instance, is a lot improved. So from that perspective, it is clearly a good combination, S4HANA and SAP Solution Manager 7.2. Next would be agile innovation. Here we are, this is the result of an intensive cooperation and co-innovation with max attention customers, especially in China, where we have large projects and where we do a lot of co-innovation together with our customers. So all customers who want to, for instance, implement S4 HANA and who also want to do a lot of co-innovation either on their own or together with us within the umbrella or under the umbrella of SAP Max Attention, then these solutions that we are delivering there are really important. What we're also doing is here, these agile innovation pieces, we also have a new model, because at the moment what we are doing is, as you know, all of Solution Manager comes to you under the, or with the support contract. These solutions, we call them focus solutions, are solutions that you can rent from us, so they are on top of Solution Manager, because they are not relevant to the overall majority of our customers, and I will walk you through the focus solutions and all that we have to offer later in our presentation. Next piece is the cloud and hybrid part of Solution Manager. If I take a look at where we are today, I mean, this is, obviously in this is the user group for India, so that means you all have SAP on-premises applications, right? I mean, this is, I'm not sure when you implemented them, probably a while ago. So that means you all have an on-premise reality. On the other hand, there is cloud, and there's SAP Cloud, and SAP has invested a lot into cloud offerings. So we have Ariba, we have SuccessFactors, we have other cloud solutions. And obviously what's going to happen is practically all of our customers will be in a hybrid situation going forward. So that means you have an on-premise reality and you have cloud solutions. Now, what is the expectation from our customers with regards to Solution Manager? The expectation is pretty clear, because customers expect that with Solution Manager, they can not only manage their on-premises solution, but they also want to manage the hybrid solutions. Okay? Sounds very simple. See everybody going like this or like this, depending on who you are. But the important thing is that obviously there are differences between on-premise solutions and cloud solutions. And the summary of what we're going to tell you is that yes, Solution Manager is ready for managing the hybrid environments. And as I am today in a very fortunate situation that I have our leading experts for operations with me. They're over there. So it's Janko Butzig and Andreas Rückendorf. These are the two guys who are really the chief architects, vice presidents responsible for these areas. So what we're going to do this morning is I'm going to just mention the operations pieces very briefly, because the experts are going to do all of this in the afternoon. Okay, thank you guys for supporting us, and this is only possible because this event, and again, thank you very much to Indus. We're doing this back-to-back with the Max Attention event that was also hosted in this hotel, and that's why we're still here. And so it's really nice that we made it possible to have this event, this focused event, back-to-back with the SAP Max Attention Forum. Final thing that I wanted to mention is, and that's at the bottom, that's SAP Solution Manager on SAP HANA. So that means Solution Manager 7.2 will also be made available on HANA, or is also available on HANA. So that means if you're running Solution Manager today on a traditional database, you can continue to do so. But you can also decide to go for HANA, let's say for Solution Manager. Why should you do this? maybe I'll give you some ideas. One thing is many customers do have a plan, a roadmap to introduce S/4HANA or HANA in their environment, but it will take a while. So maybe it's a good idea to put Solution Manager on HANA, because what that would mean is then your operations teams would already have a system which is on HANA, so they can kind of prepare using Solution Manager, running Solution Manager on HANA in order to get ready for the big change to S/4HANA, for instance. The other thing is some customers are also paying maintenance fees to other companies for Solution Manager, depending on how you licensed your databases. If you didn't license them through SAP, it may happen that you pay license fees for the database for SAP Solution Manager. Obviously, if you're going for S/4HANA, for HANA as a database for Solution Manager, then you don't have to pay any license fees, because we are delivering HANA for SAP Solution Manager within your support agreement. Okay, so that means no additional license costs for HANA if you run Solution Manager on top of it. And that may also be a good reason why to go for S/4HANA. And later on, we're going to show you what the advantages are if you go for HANA. And I have to tell you that, I mean, obviously we are all very excited. I mean, also the development team was very excited when we made the decision to also offer HANA as a database for Solution Manager. And the interesting thing is that during the early adopter care program, the interest in running Solution Manager on HANA was extremely high. That was a surprise to us. I personally expected maybe 10, 15%, but I think it's about 40 to 50% of our customers are running Solution Manager 7.2 on HANA. That's just a piece of information for you. So the interest is high, so it'll be interesting to see going forward, once we are out of early adopter care, how many customers will be using Solution Manager S/4HANA for Solution Manager. In the middle, you see digital business. Ambarish just briefly showed the overall high-level slide that SAP is pitching. That's the 5-finger pitch. It shows the business networks, Internet of Things, all of this. Now, I already spoke briefly about the combination, as I call it sometimes, the dream team, Solution Manager 7.2 and S/4HANA. What is important for me at this point is that as Solution Manager, the real message to you is that Solution Manager supports all of the SAP products of the current portfolio. And I think that's a very good message for you. So it's not a tool used for managing, let's say, software of the past, but it is also, from an SAP strategy perspective, the tool managing solutions of today, which you will start having today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, so that's important. And that means that all the investments that you did in Solution Manager and all the investments that you are doing right now are not lost, because we are not replacing Solution Manager by any other management platform. So the commitment from the SAP side is that we continue to have Solution Manager as the management platform going forward. And I think that's very important. So that means if you are investing into Solution Manager capabilities today, that means these are protected, and Solution Manager will be around even in the years to come. And that's, for me, the main message, and we're going to be walking you through the details of this later in the presentation. Now, I've spent a lot of time on this slide. I promise I will go faster. I have, all of you who know me, I have a tendency to go over time. So maybe we have to skip lunch, but I hope it's nevertheless going to be interesting. But I'm sure they're going to start showing time signs for me. There is no clock ticking, so I just continue. Okay. So what is the situation with the releases? 7.1. So that's the release that we have today, which is in active maintenance, will be supported until end of 2017. May sound far away, but you know, time goes by very quickly, okay? So you should consider an upgrade once Solution Manager is out of early adopter care. Gives you approximately 1.5 years. Depending on what you use in Solution Manager, that may be long, it may not be long. Now, Solution Manager 7.1 will not collapse on the 1st of January 2018. But what that means is we'll stop shipping packaged support packages or notes for Solution Manager. So that means, I know that many of you probably have a policy that you can only use solutions from SAP which are in the standard maintenance window. So keep in mind that you have to, at some point, move over to Solution Manager 7.2. Now, currently, as I said, Solution Manager 7.2 is in ramp-up, and we are pretty confident that we can release it to the general public in August. This is current planning. It depends on whether we meet the quality criteria that were given to us, but at the moment, I have to say I'm very positive about this. Okay, now, I mentioned on the first slide that we do have a new set of solutions on top of Solution Manager, and I just want to spend a couple of minutes on this so that you understand what I'm talking about. So we continue to ship Solution Manager 7.2, and we continue to enhance it, and we continue to provide new capabilities in Solution Manager 7.2, okay? And that's an important message. But what we are also seeing is that there are more and more customers out there who have additional requirements. And when we take a look at these customers, we see that it's several hundred customers who have these requirements, but not all. And now the question is, how do we continue with this in the future? In the past, what we have done, if it's several hundred customers, we sometimes have added these capabilities and sometimes not. And what happens is, if we continue down this path, Solution Manager is going to grow and grow and grow, and there will be more and more things in there which are not relevant to all customers. Okay? Keep in mind again that Solution Manager is part of the maintenance contract. You all have a maintenance contract, so it should and must contain everything that everybody needs. But what about these customers that want to go deeper in a certain area? Let's say, for instance, we want to have specific dashboards, with specific capabilities, or we want to have, implement agile development, in our company. We want Solution Manager to govern this. We want to have project management. We want to organize our development teams in sprints and waves and all of that. Is this relevant to everybody? It is not. It clearly is not. And that's why we said we need to kind of implement the fork. There is Solution Manager for everybody under enterprise support. And then we have additional solutions on top of Solution Manager, which are relevant to a couple of hundred people. And these are the so-called focused solutions. And these focused solutions, they are standard software. So it's not homegrown software. It's not specific development. It's standard development that comes from SAP. And keep in mind, if you have these additional requirements, how do you satisfy these requirements? I think there are two options that you have. You either develop them on your own, and that means then you have to invest into development, and later on you have this custom code in your SAP Solution Manager system, and then you have to maintain it, and then new capabilities come in from SAP, and then you have to adjust what you have developed and all of this, okay? Or the other option is, you say, okay, SAP is not delivering this inside Solution Manager, so I'm going to go for a partner solution. And this may be offer you a quick start at the beginning, but then the next problem that you are facing is the integration. Then you have an additional management tool for some aspect, and then you have the next thing is you have to struggle with integration. And what we're doing with these focused solutions, none of these problems will occur because we're delivering standard software with SAP Solution Manager. We're delivering all of the training, all of the knowledge resources and knowledge that is required. There's no upgrade risk because we will make sure that these focused solutions will also work on a new Solution Manager or if a new enhancement package comes in. And there are no integration issues because we are delivering the integrations by our own. Okay, so this is just to let you understand where we're going, and I'm going to go deeper here on the next slides. Okay, now let's take a look at the first new portion, and that's the new user interface. So thank you very much for my colleagues from India. They have introduced this slide. It's very beautiful. Honestly, I mean, I have to tell you, this is my first time to India. I've never been here. I mean, Solution Manager has taken me all over the world, but I've never been to India. It's unbelievable, but it's the truth. And for those of you who were here for the Max Attention Forum, there was so much to do. I basically stayed in the hotel all the time, okay? So I had the chance to go to the pool once yesterday evening, and I didn't have a chance to really walk around. And obviously, I mean, this is so beautiful. So let's see if Solution Manager is as beautiful. So Sharath, will you support me now, and then we take a look at it, and maybe we'll go through, while you are getting ready, I'm going to take you through some of the key aspects. So first of all, what is going to happen with Solution Manager 7.2? The work centers will not be there any longer. Okay? So when you open up Solution Manager 7.2, you will see the Solution Manager Launchpad. Okay, and you can see a screenshot here, and Sharath and myself, we will take you through this in a minute. Give me a couple of seconds so that I work through this. So that's important. So if you have the work, it's bye-bye work centers and welcome Fiore. Okay, so that's the message here. And that means with Fiore, I mean, it's not only that the interface changes and that the work centers go away, but Fiore offers you all of these additional capabilities, because now you can create a specific interface for the individual user roles in your environment. You can add other things very easily. This is all provided by the Fiore interface, and I think that's very nice. And the other thing, and I related to this already at the beginning, we have for the mobile applications, for instance, on Solution Manager 7.1, many of them were done with the native mobile development platforms, and we are replacing them, and we are having now the UI5 based mobile apps. What we are also doing is, especially in the operations area, we are doing away with all of the Flash-based technology. It's now all SAP UI5. And what's also important is that's a question that comes up time and again. It's about which browsers we support. Well, the answer is very simple. We are supporting the same browsers as the business suite. Okay? So with that, I think it's also very simple, and you will see this later on. This topic I will address it a couple of times. We're really following the business suite overall. So, okay, Sharath, are you ready?
Yeah,
shall we take a look at this?
Can you please put the application? So, I mean, while they get that up, Matthias, so I've had the opportunity to be in delivery for SAP before joining the product team. And every time I've traveled to a customer site, one of the key questions that kept coming, or at least the key point that came out, was on the user interface, right? So what happens to this gray user interface? Can I change it? Can I customize it? Can I personalize it? You know, so that's what we have. How many of you have had a chance to see the preview of Solution Manager 7.2 yet? Show of hands, please. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is the new launchpad, the Fiore launchpad for Solution Manager. So that, I think, is a much easier answer for any consultant who would go in, and just to add to what Matthias mentioned, a business user would want to use it with ease, and that's the whole idea behind this. And here again, if you look at it, these are role-based UI. So depending on who has logged in, he gets to see what tiles are available. And they're, again, intuitive in nature. So if you see here, one of the things that I would want to show today would be on incident management. So let's...
Can you stop for a moment? So that's basically, we have the functions all organized according to roles.
Yep. So what we have here on the top is essentially all the process areas that you would have seen earlier in your work center. So now that comes up as a whole list of areas, process areas. And again, this will be based on the role that you have. So depending on what you have as a role, say if I'm a business user, I'll be restricted to see only those elements which I would want to use on a day-to-day basis.
So this is the maximum, really,
This is
right?
the maximum,
This is the maximum. Okay.
Yeah. So now I'd probably launch the incident management. So now it goes to the specific area, and here I can see it also brings about this number. So say suppose I'm a user and I have incidents assigned to me, then I could see those numbers showing up here. So it's an intelligent tile, it brings in real-time information from behind. So that's more of ease of use. And when I click on it, it brings out.
And should we mention at this point, this is live, right?
This is live,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
This is a real system, this is not cooked up demo. So, and
well, let's wait what's going to happen.
So while we were at the pod, I mean, I did have a team from Aditya Birla and Rajeev who were sitting, having a chat with me. And one of the questions that came up was, it's very tough to create an incident in that UI. It's so overwhelming. I mean, there's so many elements to add. That's what we have now. It's so easy. It's so simple. And just to show you on how a new incident can be created is just a click, and you'd get the types of incidents that you could create. So here I'm going to create one for internal tests. It's bare minimum, and these are customizable depending on customer requirements, but this is what we have out of the box. And you could create these elements, and it's much easier for a business user to create a ticket today.
That's an important point, because I know that many customers in India are already using the service desk in Solution Manager as a corporate service desk, but there's still an enormous amount of customers out there who are going for different service desks. Now, I know that some of these service desks, maybe they're outdated, and some of you are probably also thinking about replacing your current service desk, and maybe Solution Manager is a good answer, because on one hand, I mean, I think from a functional richness perspective, we are just as good as any other of the vendors. From a licensing perspective, the service desk is very attractive because it's part of your enterprise support agreement. And what's happening now with these interfaces is it's now a lot easier to convince the non-SAP people in your environment that you can go with SAP, because I think this type of interface is easier to, let's call it, sell in your own organization, because it doesn't have this ugly SAP look. Maybe I shouldn't say that ugly SAP look of the past, but that's a user interface, I think, which is state of the art. That is the Fiori things that we are delivering. So back to you. Sorry, I had to just do this value pitch in between.
In fact, the other point that I would want to add, especially when you compare it with other ticketing solutions, is the integration. You know, the integration that we have within the entire environment. So that's the key element here.
That's another important aspect. Yeah. Again, if you have to do advertising on the services and Solution Manager, because that integration on one hand with the front end, that's very important. So we extended for instance, for S4 HANA, the integration with the front end. So that means if you're running Fiori applications on your S4 HANA system, and if there is an issue, then the users can open up a ticket right on the very screen where they are, as you could do for, let's say, your GUI-based applications in ECC. And Solution Manager will automatically collect the technical information and pulls it into the service desk. That's one aspect. And the other aspect is our service desk also offers a terrific integration with the SAP support backbone. So that means if you need to invoke SAP support, then it's very easy out of the service desk to invoke SAP support, and then you don't have to go to the service marketplace, or you don't have to do a cut and paste from a different tool into the service marketplace. But with Solution Manager, we have that integration into the business front end and in the SAP support back end. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. So I'd probably just create a simple issue here, creating one wherein I want to showcase UI itself. So issue with UI, and I'd call it a medium ticket. And I probably want to assign it to somebody. Can I assign it to my boss? And a component. So I would like to add a component to it, and now you get these search as well. So I want to search the component that's specific for UI. I get to choose the component, and then I can bring in elements of configuration, and then maybe I'll add a text. So not showing the right elements, and I would want to add maybe a screenshot. So I'd add one that I've created here, open it up, and all the actions are on the bottom right hand, so I can create it right here. Yep, so the incident is now created, and you could, so there would be the person with the help desk team that would work behind, and they would access this element, and then you can have your chat back and forth, especially if you want further elements for that particular ticket. So all those conversations can be put here. You could have elements, new data added, and those conversations can all be captured within this interface. So it's much easier to use this. So it's a huge improvement, Matthias. I mean, amazing, and I'm dead sure that a lot of our customers would be able to take it to business and ensure adoption of our incident management solution. We have further demos as well, so which we would probably take at the pod. So we would want to show there are other apps that we have, like, for example, business requirements. In fact, Rajeev later on will be taking you through an entire cycle of process modeling and other elements, so we would definitely show that at the pods as well. But just wanted to show you what's changed, how simple it is today, and that's what we wanted to showcase.
Thank you very much. Let me add, at this point, we also have a mobile application, so you can also open incidents via a mobile application. So that means you really have all options that you, I think, need. And one other thing, this was now, this is an example, and let me get back to a statement that I made earlier. It's an example of where we invested into a Fiori application. And the idea is that we can pull those, let's say, this low-touch users, as we call them. So people who don't work with the system every day, who only maybe have just one task or two tasks. And here we're offering a Fiori application. And the commitment that we have on the SAP side is there are more of these low-touch applications, or these applications for low-touch users. And we would like to get your input of where they are and what you need most, and then we are committed to deliver more of these easy-to-use applications for the low-touch users. Because the expert users, let's be honest, the expert users, so the ones working with the services every day, they would probably not be the main target group for Fiori, right? Because they want to have these screens where a lot of things are on them, because they know exactly what to do, and they work with a couple of screens every day, and they don't want to have that many screen changes. But the Fiori applications are really for the people who just have to complete one task, and we want to make it very simple and easy for them, and that's really where Fiori helps us a lot.
Absolutely, Matthias. So that's pretty much here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matthias.
Cool. All right. So, and on top of this, and this is, we're back to the slides. Thank you. We have, we introduced the Launchpad to you. We showed the Fiori applications. Maybe just one word about analytics in Solution Manager. So what we are delivering with Solution Manager are the application-specific dashboards. So for the individual functional areas, we have dashboards. That's one thing. We also have some cross-application dashboards, which we deliver with SAP Solution 7.2. And then we have, and this is now, we have the focused solution, focused insights, which is one of the focus solutions. Obviously, this is what the name says. And here we are delivering you a tool set and templates for your own dashboards. So here you can create dashboards that you really need, and which need to be very specific, because keep in mind with the dashboards, it's, all customers want dashboards, but it's very, very difficult to deliver dashboards from SAP which fit to the customers. Every time, and this was kind of a learning out of the Max Attention projects that we have, every customer wants to change a dashboard that we are delivering. There are always some specifics, they're doing things in a different way, and that's why we said it's difficult for us to pre-think and prefabricate all of this in Walldorf, and that's why I'm saying we're going a different road. We have we're taking, excuse me, a different approach. We're giving you a tool set, templates, ready-made for you. And here with this focus solution, you can really very quickly design your own dashboards. And this will also be available at one of the pods if you want to take a look at it. Okay, so this was the demo. So Sharad, we were a little too early, but nevertheless, thank you very much for your support. Okay, so I hope that, so we covered kind of the first piece, Solution 7.2, new interface, Launchpad apps and dashboards. Now, let's move on to process management. So what we see today, so let's take a step back and think about processes and what customers do. First of all, if you're going for a new implementation, obviously you want to be able to, let's say, document your processes, design processes, and document the to-be state. Okay? So you want to have a staging area, and you need a staging area. And on the other hand, you have the processes which are in production now, and you need them as well. You need them for monitoring, for instance, and you always want to keep the as-is and the to-be processes apart, right? And this was not possible with Solution Manager 7.1. And what we're also seeing is that many customers have, let's say there are different release cycles. Obviously, there's the larger releases, so for instance, an upgrade project or an implementation project. And then you have these smaller improvements where you have faster cycles, and these improvements mostly come out of the run phase where your users tell you, we need to change this, we need to change that, and then you have to make a change, and obviously you have to be able to document and model all of this as well. Now, with Solution Manager 7.2, we have totally overhauled and changed the implementation part of Solution Manager. So if you're familiar today with the trees that you have to, where you have to document the processes, you're familiar with the 3-level hierarchies, you're familiar with the swim lane diagrams and all of that, the interfaces that we have been delivering 7.1 now. We have a totally new interface here and totally new capabilities. Well, first of all, and that really belongs also into the UI section, we now have a web-based, we're offering a web-based documentation experience to our users. Okay? So that means the new Solution 7.2 solution documentation environment is totally browser-based. Okay? So away from the GUI-based environment, now to a web-based environment. Next is we are adopting a common standard, so the BPMN notation that you probably all know is now also part of Solution Manager in the sense of that we follow the BPMN notation, and I think that's also very important. Next thing is there's something that was decided a long time ago that we will only be offering 3 levels: the scenario, the process, and the process step. Okay, and then I still remember we argued about this long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, and the argument was there's always, you know, 2 ideas. One was we should allow as many levels as there are. There was one group saying this is the right way to go, and another group said if you can't do it in 3, you can't do it at all. Okay, you should be able to do it in 3, and do it in 3, group 1, and that's why we've had this, why this was built. Now, feedback was from the customers, we need more flexibility on the levels, and this is what we actually are doing right now. So in Solution Manager 7.2, we're going towards the other extreme. You can now have as many levels as you want. This is, I think, very nice. But what happens is we still have the 3 well-known levels: scenario, process, and process step, and they are at the bottom, at the low end of your level. So that means if you invested into solution documentation today, you will still have these levels, so we will take this information over, and they would be kind of the lower part of your modeling hierarchies, and you can have more levels on top. Okay? So that means this is, I think, the best compromise for those of you who are already invested in solution documentation. You will find the documentation there. You cannot insert levels in between, so you cannot put a level between the process and the scenario. This is not possible, but you can have levels on top. Okay? So I think that's also very important. There's another thing that I think we improved today. In 7.1, it is very difficult to handle, let's say, process variants. Okay? Many customers have processes and they have variants. So that means there are common parts, and for each variant there's also a specific part. Now obviously what you want to do is then you want to have a library, let's say, of the common parts, and then you, for a specific variant, you want to be able just to add these specific pieces which are only relevant to a variant. And this is exactly what we're doing, because we are organizing all of the elements that we are offering to you for process descriptions in so-called libraries. Okay? So that means you would put all of the common things in a library, and then you can pull them in wherever you need. So it's a lot easier now to document variants, or to create variants in Solution Manager. You can see it on the left-hand side, and Rajeev is going to take us through this in a minute. There was another shortcoming of 7.1, that we could not show graphically what the variants are. So basically what you had to do if you want to document a process variant, you would have all of this in the tree listed, all of the steps, but it was difficult to see which process step belonged to each variant. Okay? Practically impossible to do this. Maybe you had to come up with a creative naming convention, so you had to work against the tool basically, not with the tool, and this is not the way how it should be. With the new environment, you can see we can have forks now in your processes. And the other thing is, and that's also while you are launching, while you're getting ready. See, I'm getting carried away now. That's the problem. Yeah. What else is coming? Are we okay? 1 more minute. Okay. This is why I'm going overtime every time I do a presentation like this. Where was I? I was talking about the libraries and the variants. And the other thing is, take a look at the graphics and just for a minute think about it. If today what we're doing is we're basically offering Solution Manager, the way Solution Manager looks, it is really designed for IT people. Okay? So the IT build people would be using Solution Manager. What we want to do, if we want to also open up Solution Manager, let's say for the process experts. So let's say people who are in the business or closer to the business. Now if you want to do this, you have to also come up with a very different user interface. It has to be kind of more, I say, Microsoft type of style. Things you have to be able, you have to have a canvas where you can like pull and drag objects where they should be. And if you want to connect two process steps, what you really want is you want to have some support by the tool to draw these connections. You will see this in a minute, that this is exactly what we're doing. So what this means is you can now offer Solution Manager not only to your IT people, but you can also include the more business-related people. And you may say, okay, this is really nice. Now I have other people and more users in Solution Manager. But the advantage is that if you pull in these people, then you have, it makes Solution Manager stronger as your single source of truth. Because then everybody who is really involved in an implementation project is really working on the same tool. So that means you do not have your processes here and the IT reality there. But you have everything in one database, in one tool from the very beginning. And I think that's very important. And that's another thing, and Andreas Krippendorf will show you later this evening, yeah, maybe if I continue like this, it will be the evening, later in the afternoon, that we have now the same graphical environment for implementation as for operations. So that means all the graphics that you create in implementation, they are also used for monitoring later on. Okay, so then you will see these monitoring icons next to the processes. I think this is also a step forward, because take a look at 7.1. These were a bit separated, these two areas from a graphical perspective. Now this has changed. We have one graphical environment for both areas. You're standing there, so I'm coming here over because we pretty soon I have some more other important things to say.
I just want to make sure it's up.
What is also very important is we have integrated the new documentation implementation environment with the requirements management, with the project and portfolio management. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, and there's one more thing. Okay, this is really what I already talked about it. It's the integration of the new process environment also with the integration parts. Here you can see an example. I already talked about this on the previous slide. It's the same graphics, and here you can see the monitoring and the alerts all displayed in the same graphics. And I think that's really a step forward. So that means we've always spoken about Solution Manager as a tool being used for the complete life cycle, and this is now really reality in 7.2.
Wonderful. So Matthias, I was trying to set it up so that we can really show a live demo. Before I show, how many of you have used Solar 01? Okay, I've got some bad news for you. Doesn't exist anymore. Yeah? Well, the good news is that we do have something as a replacement. We do have the new solution documentation experience that Matthias talked about, and that's what you see here. That's what already being shown. So what did we do? So we, of course, it's a fundamental new architecture, right? So we have the new library concept, we have everything going, we have multiple levels and so on and so forth. So it's not a delta enhancement on top of Solar 01 or the Solar architecture as we call it within SAP, right? So it's a fundamental thing you will have to understand, that we have completely re-architected the way we visualize processes, the way we document processes, and the way we manage processes as we go along. Okay, thank you. So, so this is what I wanted to demonstrate today, and one of the key things I think we also talked about during the presentation from Ambarish, as well as what Matthias mentioned, Solution Manager 7.2 is our key delivery platform for S/4HANA. And that becomes important as well for us, because when we think about S/4HANA and the digital transformation, we are talking about transforming your business processes, and this is where you would definitely need to visualize your processes, to see what SAP has to offer, to see how you have to implement them for your organization, to figure out what are the gaps, etc. So,
I know you're going to the graphics right now, but I wanted to just point out 2 or 3 things on this screen. Now we still have, and this is what Rajeev just launched, this is, I would call it more the IT view. So what has happened is you can see on the right-hand side, this is already populated. You will talk about the content, but you can see the processes and the scenarios.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I have done here is that I have preloaded the business process structure for S/4HANA, and that's one important aspect as well. So Solution Manager can download all the S/4HANA best practice content from the cloud, and that's what I've done as a preparation for this demo. And the content that you're seeing is actually the 16.02 version of S/4HANA. And the content comes with a whole lot of not just tree structures and diagrams, but a whole lot of information as well, which will really accelerate your implementation of S/4HANA.
Can I step in? Sorry.
Yes.
I mean, this is,
Yeah, please.
Can remain quiet here. What is also important is, notice please, we had a tree structure in Solution Manager 7.1, and this has gone away. So each level is now represented by one of these long, what's it called, rectangles.
Columns.
And columns, yes. And if you add another level, you would just have another column inserted, okay? So basically, then all the content that you have here on the right-hand side would move to the right, and we would have another column, and this would represent another level. Okay, so this is the logic, and also what's...
So let's go through that hierarchy once, right? So like what Matthias was mentioning, so if you have a few levels of organizational units and departments that you would like to categorize your business processes in, you would define them as multiple levels, and then we navigate from left to right in terms of going through these levels in a columnar browser format. So what we have here is that first I go into the business processes and look at the best practice import content that is coming for S/4 HANA, and then I go into the content itself, and then I see a whole bunch of business processes that are then coming as part of S/4 HANA, which are all available to you. And now this is the time, if you're implementing S/4 HANA, then to review it and then start looking at this as your platform for your discovery workshops. And as you can see, while I click on each of the levels, the next level opens up. So if you have any number of levels you can start with, you keep going deep and deep, and then there is a breadcrumb on the top which is showing how you are navigating from one level to the other, and then you can also use the breadcrumb to actually go back to any level that you would like. Right.
Exactly, that's the breadcrumb. Thank you very much. What's also important is if you have a lot of processes, again, we're showing you the view where everything can be seen. But you also have the option to create views.
Yes.
So that the teams working only on a specific part of your solution documentation, that they would be restricted. Okay, so that's the idea of kind of limiting the view to what you really need based on, let's say, how the project teams are organized in your organization. Right. And you can also very quickly define your favorites. So if you're working, let's say, if you have a big structure and if you want to go to a specific area very quickly, then it can be cumbersome, to go through all of the levels and then where did I put this and, all of this. And then you can just, with a click of a button, if you're working in a specific area, you can create a personal favorite, and then you have a favorites bar, and you can just click on this, and the system will right away take you to the favorite. Maybe
so let's do that.
Yeah.
So I want to add accounts payable as my favorite, although I'm not a finance guy. That's the demo I've prepared. So I added accounts payable as my favorite, and then no matter where I am, let's say I'm in this business process area, and then I don't want to navigate all the way to go to accounts payable, then I go to the favorites tab here, and then say I want to go to accounts payable, which is what I've just added to my favorites, and then the system will jump to that particular area within the overall hierarchy, right? So this makes the navigation much more simple, and then, typically consultants, especially the functional consultants, etc., they are working in specific areas, they are responsible for certain things, so they directly put those on their favorites, and then they don't need to be bothered by the navigation. The other thing that Matthias mentioned, we always start with what we call as a default view, right, which is then showing everything that is there in a solution, right? And what you can do is that you can then pick and choose the processes or the areas. You can figure out a filter criteria and then say that these are the processes that are important for me or my team. And then you create a view, and then that makes it much more easier for you to actually look at only a subset instead of looking at the whole solution, which would be showing the entire enterprise. And that can be pretty big. That can grow very big because we're talking about a solution which is then holding everything and anything the entire enterprise is doing. Yeah? That's another important aspect as well, right? So when we think about Solution Manager 7.1, many customers had multiple projects, which is not a very great term to actually store your business processes. It was actually for project management. Then we use this as a repository.
And change, and then people were working on different teams on the same process, and it was cumbersome. You would have them in two projects. This is all in the past now because we have this central storage of all the processes, and we give you now the ability to shrink it down and adjust it to your project teams. And yes, if two teams are working on the same process, you just include this process into the view that each of the team is using, and here you go.
And the other important aspect also is that what we have displayed here is what we call as a solution. Yeah? So solution is the new entity, right, which is now the single entity where everything happens, yeah, and that's very important to understand as well, because in the past we have projects and solutions, and then you would do different things. If you are documenting your processes, creating T-bombs, etc., you were doing it in a project, and then a solution was built for monitoring purposes and representing your production solution, etc. Now everything is in one entity, and that is the solution, and that's what you see here. And that's also very important because in general we expect every customer have only one solution in 7.2, yeah? Which means that everything and anything that you would need to do with respect to processes, storing documents, having multiple process hierarchies, etc., happening in one solution. And then the question comes, okay, but then if I'm doing everything in one, Matthias mentioned earlier that we have a project going, we have a production processes, we have a staging area where we want to put processes which are still not live. So how do we handle that, right? So that's where we have the concept of branches, right? A branch will then help you spin off a particular staging area, right? But the most important thing here, which is where the architecture becomes really important, is that we are not making a copy. Yeah? And this was again a big issue. So we have had some of the customers here as well going through that. Whenever you need a version of this particular process structure, they were making multiple copies, right? So that entire concept of copying processes just so that you need it for a temporary project for 3 months, 6 months because you're working on it and then you want to go live after 6 months, etc. is all gone. You would now create a branch, right? A branch will get a view of everything that is there in the parent, right? So we'll explain that in the slide as well. But the idea is that we now have branches which are embedded into the solution so that you don't need to make copies of the solution going forward.
So that would mean you have a, branch representing production. Yes. This is your as is, and you cannot make changes to any of the documentation in the production branch. And then usually customers would probably have a maintenance branch, and there they would do all the changes that kind of belong to maintenance. Yeah. And then once they release these changes to production, then the documentation would flow from the maintenance branch into the production branch, because then this is the new reality in production. And in parallel, you could also have an implementation or innovation branch where you kind of plan what your next release is going to be. And this is independent of production, independent of maintenance. You can work there. And once this is then channeled into production, then this documentation would also flow from the innovation branch into the production branch. It would become your new as-is documentation. Okay, that's very important. So that means documentation and the system reality are now in sync. Okay. And if you want to do, if you're using change request management, this happens automatically. So if you are using, and that's what I had this on the slide and I skipped it because I'm probably already should be 50 slides ahead. Important that you understand these fundamental concepts. So if we have this integrated with change request management, and that means if you're using change request management, then the flow of the, let's say, the software and the flow of documentation is synchronized. Okay? That's very important, and I think that's very unique, and honestly, I don't think that any tool other than SAP Solution Manager can deliver this, because we have this integration of, let's say, the documentation level and the software level. Okay? That's important. Now, finally, graphics, right? We are ready for graphics.
Yeah. Because we've been showing graphics everywhere, so we obviously have to get that.
Maybe I should reschedule my flight for tonight.
So what I have here from a content perspective, as I mentioned earlier, is the S/4 HANA best practice content. And then the example that I'm picking is accounts payable, right? So again, just to explain the content, when I download it, I get everything that you see on the screen. Nothing has been created from scratch, whatever you're seeing as content. So this is all content that is coming for S/4 HANA. So this becomes the baseline and a great accelerator for you to actually start your S/4 HANA project, so that you don't start with a blank sheet of paper. You're starting with a predefined best practice content coming from SAP. Now let's look at accounts payable itself, right? So the way this user interface is designed also is that, as you can see, there are no buttons. Did anyone observe that? Yeah? Matthias? No buttons. Yeah? So we try to give as much real estate as possible for the process documentation and process modeling, right? So we try to get through with some smart user interface ideas. For example, everything works with a context-sensitive right-click. Yeah? So for example, if I want to create something here in this column, then I right-click, it should come up, and then you can create a new folder, a new scenario, etc. on the right-click. Oops, why is it taking? Okay, so basically this one, so in this case, you can create a folder here, you can create a scenario, and so on and so forth. If I'm already in a certain level, which restricts me to create any further levels. For example, if I'm in a level of scenarios, then I can only create, in this case, a scenario, right? Because first I need to create a scenario, then I can create a process and so on and so forth, right? So it's context sensitive, right? And then whatever you can create for a particular a level is what is displayed over there, right? And the other thing about the user interface is that below the screen is where you would see all the assignments for a given entity or a given node that we have selected, right? Right now I've selected the accounts payable. So if I go down, I have a whole bunch of assignments that are coming as part of the best practice content. So what's happening here is that we have process diagrams, we have process links, we have configuration items, we have best practice documents. This is all standard content coming from SAP, so that for a given process, in this case it is accounts payable, you get all the information that you need to actually start your project, right? So you can click any of these, and if an S4 HANA system is connected to Solution Manager, you can directly navigate to that particular element. If there is a configuration item, you can directly jump to the specific IMG activity in S4 HANA. Or if you want to really do very interactive business discussion with your business when you are building these processes, etc., you can also navigate to the Fiori app, which is built for a given process step, etc., so that you can really show it to business and say that, you know what, this is the S4 HANA business process for accounts payable, this is the Fiori app, what else do you need, is it sufficient, and you can get into a real requirements discussion which is based on a business process. Okay? So now the wait is over. I'll try to go to one of these diagrams. In this case, this is a manual payment with other bank connectivity. This is one of the process variants that we have for accounts payable in S4 HANA. And this is when we actually navigate into what we call as the graphical browser, which is something that we have completely created new in Solution Manager. As Matthias mentioned, this is something that we tried to do with an add-on before in 7.1, and it had a lot of integration issues in the sense that you do something there and then suddenly they want to do everything in the graphical model and never go back to the tree structure and so on and so forth. But we have now embedded the graphics within the solution documentation. As you can see here, we have loaded it, and obviously none of you can read that. So fortunately, we have the zoom capability. And then we can get more real estate by collapsing this guy, because we are not looking at that. And then you can actually see the overall process. In this case, we are looking at accounts payable, starts with the cash manager, and then each of these diagrams are either system-based or user-based. So you can make a choice. Our best practice content is coming with a user-based swim lanes, as we call it. Yeah.
This is incredible, because this is content that comes from SAP. Yeah. And it was done with SAP Solution Manager 7.2. And we give you the content, and we give you now also the environment to adapt this content to your needs, and you will show this in a second.
Yes.
I had to say this now.
No,
Sorry,
no.
I don't want to interrupt.
Perfect. So now imagine that you're implementing accounts payable, and then you start with this best practice content, and then if you have a pre-configured S4 HANA system, the idea is that this entire process works in the pre-configured S4 HANA system. Right? But then, of course, business have requirements, especially the finance guys who are paying all our salaries. So they would like to have their own requirements. So you would review it with your finance team, finance business users, and then say, this is the accounts payable process. What else do you need? Right? And then the interesting thing comes, you know, how do I do what we call as delta process modeling? Okay, this is fine. This is a diagram. This is a process model that is coming from SAP. But then, of course, you will have to figure out what fits to your business. Right? So now we get into the editor part. So not only is it displaying the diagram, it is also your process editor, which is, as Matthias mentioned earlier, BPMN based. BPMN is the business process modeling notation, and that's the modeling notation that we use, which is an industry standard for modeling. So now let's imagine that the business user says that, you know what, I need an additional step as a accounts payable manager. I have to approve payment, but then I need to do some aging analysis of the person that I'm doing a payment for, and then only I can make a decision about whether I can approve the payment or not. Yeah? So what do? We go into the process step area to actually drag and drop a process step, and then what you see here is a list of all process steps that we have in the library. Yeah? Again, going back to what Matthias said earlier, right? We are based on a library concept, which means that everything and anything, all the elements that you see in this diagram are coming from a library, so that there is a humongous amount of reuse possible. If you store any document in the library, suddenly it's available in any process variant that you would like to use, right? And here I have the aging analysis process on the top, So I can quickly drag and drop that here for the accounts payable guy, right? And then what do we need to do? We need to reroute the diagram because the aging analysis has to happen from after this PCM activity, and then from aging analysis, I can say that then I approve the process, and I can delete this link. Lo and behold, you have a new business process as per your business requirement, because the business user is saying they want to do aging analysis as part of the accounts payable process, right? It's as simple as that, right? The good thing is, because this is coming from a library, when I select aging analysis, right, this is not a static diagram that you would draw in a PPT or whatever. This is live, which means that all the assignments are there, and the same diagram is used, as Matthias mentioned, in the life cycle, during the build, during the run, etc. So when I select this process, and then I go back to my assignment area below, oops, it's maximized, I see the executable already available for aging analysis, and that, in the case of SAP HANA, is a Fiori application. So you're not only just adding aging analysis while you're discussing with business, you can launch this on your sandbox SAP HANA system and then show this is how aging analysis is done. And now you have a very interactive, live way of doing business blueprinting and not just drawing diagrams which might or might not, fit, and then you get into all these scope changes when you get into the build phase, right? Perfect. So then the question comes, okay, this is all good, but then, I know my business, they are very picky. They say that, aging analysis, no, I need something else, something new that is not there as part of the standard process steps, standard content, which is very common. Many of you who have implemented, you would always have something custom, some RISEF requirement that is coming in, which might say that you don't want to use any of the existing process steps coming from the library, right? So what do? You quickly add a process step to the library. So then you say, what do you want to do? Yeah. So this is the Indus way of doing things, right? So we say Indus accounts payable. No, it's not. That Indus guys will probably not like it. So it says an Indus custom step, right? And then say that I have a new custom step which is not there as part of the best practice, which I want to add to my accounts payable process. So it's as simple as typing in a text and then putting it into the library. It's very important that I'm not just adding this text box to the diagram. I'm actually creating an entity within Solution Manager, which is a process step, which is automatically added to the library, right? So now, what do? If I want to add that to my diagram, it's the same exercise, and then I come in here, and then I add it, maybe I add it in the Cash Manager lane, because then the Cash Manager is doing this custom step before starting the overall process and so on and so forth.
And that means that would also work for non-SAP systems, because that's also important. So if you want to document process steps which are outside SAP, this would be a way of doing it. So that means you can really create solution documentation which is valid for the whole landscape and not only for SAP. Right. Okay. And what you can also do, we're not going to show this, but we are available at the pod. You can also embed processes into existing processes. Right. So you can nest processes. That's also possible. Lots of possibilities. We can only show you some of the highlights. Yeah. And
just to going back to the column browsers, just so that you know, right? So this is then taking you back to the original screen that we started with. Then obviously it should ask me to save. Okay. But before that, many customers ask, can I export this? This is an important requirement as well, right? So I want to export this into a PDF, for archiving, or some of them who are very strict audit requirements maybe want to get a physical signature. There are some organizations which want to do that. Then you take this out and then get a signature as part of your blueprint sign-off and so on and so forth. So we do have export. And we also have an export, or more technical export, in the form of an XML file, which is then BPMN compliant. And if you would like to take it into any of the external tool, which is BPMN compliant, then you can export that as a BPMN XML and then put it into another tool.
And in the GA release, we also have an import interface.
That's right.
We already have several providers of modeling tools who will support this interface. So that means If you want to move away from, let's say, Ares, for instance, if this is sufficient for you, or if you like this for process modeling, you can also import existing models into this environment and reuse them. So I think this is quite a powerful environment, and it is, I told you, it's not reflected in 7.1.7.2. It is a significant step forward in implementation and documentation.
Okay. So that's it from my side, Matthias. Any questions? Anything else that you want to see on the process
Don't
modeling?
open it up for questions right now.
Okay, so then we'll take the questions at the pod. Back to you, Matthias.
Okay, thank you very much,
Sure.
Rajeev. So how are we doing with time? Are we already in overtime? Is
I think we should be fine.
I don't know.
So we have about hour and a half.
Hour and a half, and however, but... Okay.
Yeah, we should be fine.
Okay, could you show the slides, please, again? The slides. I'm lost without my slides. Oh, here we go. So, this is something relevant for you. You mentioned it very briefly, Rajeev, but I think it's such a wealth of information which we are dumping on you, so probably it's good to just recap this for a moment. So the Solar transactions will not be available in Solution 7.2, and we are moving the process content into the solution, as you pointed it out, and the project management capabilities now go into IT project management. Okay, so that slim project management that we had in the Solar transactions, this goes away. We only have the full-blown IT project management available. Okay? Coming back to something that we already discussed during the demo, we have organizing documentation is done via branches. You can see it here, and I already talked about it. Production branch, you cannot make any changes to documentation, as you cannot change anything in production anyway. It makes no sense, so it's just this is the way it should be. And then you have maintenance and operations and developments in this example as different branches, and then all of this comes together, and the software reality and the documentation move in sync. I think that's very important, and so. But you have to, and that's really important, and that's something that's why I want to say this again. It is the way I see it. It is a powerful environment. You can do a lot of things, but what I think you need to do is you need to understand the fundamental concepts of it, because otherwise you may get lost. You have to understand what you are doing, as always, but it's totally different from what you're used to in 7.1. I think it offers a lot of what you've always wanted to do, but you have to understand the concepts of branches and how the things are moving and how everything is connected, and then I think it will provide a lot of value to you. And what is also important is, as I said before, we are using this environment, Solution 7.2, as our own authoring environment for content. So the content, the S4 HANA content, the best practices content that we are shipping, the new one, is all done with SAP Solution Manager. So that means we're giving you content, we're giving you the environment, and that means you can reuse the content, adapt it to your needs, and then work with it. And I think that's really a significant step forward. We avoid redundancies. Again, you pointed it out, Rajeev. We have different types of libraries where you can pull things together, so that means that you don't have to create everything from scratch from the very beginning. One of the plans that we have is that we want to provide going forward a so-called business portal, where you can really publish all of the processes which you have in your environment. That's especially important if you use the Solution Manager as the major documentation environment for all of your processes. Then you need something like a portal to show, like the business users, which processes you have documented, and this will come in the future. Okay. Now, let's talk about focused build. We're now going into, let's say, innovation, into agile development, managing all of this. With SAP Solution Manager, we have a new solution, a new add-on called Focused Build. And with this, we allow you to manage the build process, the development process very easily. And Rajeev, why don't we come on stage and we do it right from there instead of walking through the PowerPoints? I think let's do a live demo of what we can do. This is one of the focus solutions, and I already explained the basics of it. So that means this is probably not relevant to all customers, but for those customers for whom innovation with SAP or in the SAP environment is important, for those customers who have a very strong relationship with the business. So if the business has a lot of requirements, and if you are tracked on the fulfillment of these requirements, then it is important to have a solution like this, because you will see that and you launched the solution readiness dashboard, which gives you an up-to-date snapshot of where you are with regards to your requirements fulfillment. So maybe we'll start taking a look at this.
Sure. Can you switch to the demo laptop, please? So Matthias, so this solution is, as Matthias mentioned earlier, is something that we've co-innovated with a couple of our customers, and this is really for end-to-end agile project management, right? So what we're seeing here is the culmination of all the things that we do in Solution Manager with respect to end-to-end projects, and then it culminates into a solution readiness dashboard. And as the name suggests, it is giving you transparency about the readiness of the new solution that you are implementing with your project, right? So what does it have? So first of all, it's showing the entire status of the project, every different activity that happens in the project, right from requirements to traceability to work packages, work items, testing, documentation, anything and everything that you do within the project, you have a status and data supporting the status right available in this particular dashboard, right? So first of all, it's showing the overall status of the project. In this case, it's green, because we want to show green project status all the time. But then what's important is that it is also showing the next quality gate, that it is due in 100 days. That's the next tile that you see, right? How do we get this information? So as Matthias mentioned, we have IT project management within Solution Manager, and that's what we leverage here to actually do end-to-end project planning. And then you define your project phases into waves and sprints and so on and so forth in this project plan. And then based on that data, this dashboard can then display when is the next quality gate that is due in your project, right? But what's most interesting are the other elements, which are all showing various numbers and then talking about various things. But the most important thing, any PMO project manager would be interested in, what is the progress of the project overall, right? So let's quickly dive into the progress of one of the multiple waves. Again, just to remind, we are talking about agile development, agile project management as well, which means that you would divide your entire project into waves and sprints, and then you currently are looking at a specific wave, in which case it might be 2 months, 3 months, depending upon how you divide your project, and then you want to know what's the progress of the current wave. So as and when I click on one of these tiles, and then I go into the details, right? So here we are showing the burn down chart of how the planned tasks and the execution of these tasks is going on within the project week on week, and then you see the distribution as well. Now this is very powerful, because it's not something you would ask. Let's say you have a PMO meeting on a Monday morning, you would ask your team, or if you are a project manager, you ask your team on Friday to prepare all the slides, prepare 200 Excel sheets to actually get all the data from different teams, and then prepare something for your PMO meeting. But then this is live data directly shown in the dashboard, which means that a PMO meeting will be live, right?
That's very important, because that's actually where this originates from. We're supporting big projects through Max Attention, and what we saw was that in order to collect the status of the overall project, then people had to run around and ask developers, how are you, what is the completion status, and then you had hundreds of Excel spreadsheets, and you condensed all of this, and a lot of effort went into this. This is effortless, because this is done by the system itself. However, to be also very clear, if you want this dashboard, then your people, your organization, your project teams also have to use Solution Manager as the way of working, right. Okay? So they have to follow this methodology. Then you get this kind of as a present, okay? So from that perspective, this is highly pre-configured, and that's why I'm saying this is not, and that's also very important to understand, this is, usually Solution Manager kind of is an engine and you customize it in such a way that it works the way you want it to. Here we have with the focus solutions a different mindset. The mindset is we configure it and we integrate it to the max, and if it satisfies your needs, take it, use it as is, and then you get all of these presents. Okay? So it's not, it has to fit. It's not the idea that you change all of this, because this comes out of the box, and our feeling is it will probably fit for a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 customers worldwide. We don't know. We're just pushing this out, and the interest is high, and we understand that many are working in an agile mode. And then you get all of this. But it's clear you get all of this only if your teams use the methodology and use Solution Manager as their working environment, just to be very clear. Okay?
And this analytics that you see, especially in this dashboard, for example, is not just showing the trends and everything, but then the transactions behind are also shown below, right? So if you see the table below is then showing all the work packages, which are then culminating into the burn down chart that you see on the top, right? You can navigate to that particular work package and then see what's happening there, whether documents are available or not. If you want to track a status, track the guy down who is then responsible for that work package and directly talk to him, right? In fact, one of the customers, Matthias, we were doing this demo last few days as a Max Attention event here in this venue, and one of the customers was saying, this is like digital project room. Yeah. So which means that, you know, it's the same idea. So when we talk about digital boardroom, for example, we are not preparing PPTs and presentations. We are looking at live data to actually get the transparency that is needed in a boardroom meeting. Now you bring it down to a project, and then on a Monday morning, you don't want to prepare PPTs. You want to see live data, what's happening, and take decisions and, you know, get the status, and hopefully reduce the time required for PMO meetings also quite considerably, right? Let's look at a few other things that are available overall. So this functionality, as Matthias mentioned, is a well-integrated functionality, which is very important to understand, which means that every different element that we have, the work packages, the work items, how they integrate with the project management tools and how they integrate with the document management is all pre-integrated, pre-configured, available for you as part of the focus solution. And as you can see, there are multiple elements that you can track. For example, in this case, this particular project has about 51 work packages, and you want to know which are these, which process areas, what's happening with these work packages. Then you dive deep into that work package area, and then it displays, okay, these 51 work packages, in which process areas they are, how many of them are running in FI, how many of them are running in CRM. This is an insurance example, so we have a claims management where about majority of the work is going on, and so on and so forth. Now you can drill down further, and then you say that, okay, I have this FI work packages, and then you can really go to the individual work package and see the current status, right? If you would like to track what's happening over there, you click on that work package, and you can actually see the work package details as well, right? And this launches another application which is part of the focus solution as well. But before we go there, what I also wanted to say is that it's about the drill down also. It's not just about showing a dashboard with some numbers. We actually can drill down to the actual transaction so that you don't need to go to another application. You don't need to call different people. All the information that is available, which is then well integrated within Solution Manager, is pre-configured and available for you. Let's quickly look at the screen. Still loading, but so the other thing, just wanted to also mention, this was also coming in some of the discussions we had, is that we have also added new functionalities in here. It's not just about reusing some of the existing functionalities of Solution Manager. There is something new as well. For example, risk management. This is something that we've completely added new as part of this solution. So you can create risk. In this case, there are 3 risks this particular project is tracking. You can assign a mitigation plan to it and then track the risk. And then an unattended risk, typically in project management terminology, then becomes an issue later on, which you will have to address as well. Then we have the issue management capability to actually track the current critical issues. And like, from a UI perspective, each of these tiles is then showing the most important metric that is relevant for that particular area. In this case, the issue management is showing total number of high priority issues, and the same is the case with risk. The progress, the current wave progress is then showing in a percentage form what is the current wave progress, and so on and so forth, right? The other thing that customers also do really like, so because I'm involved in implementing this in a project in Singapore, one of the things that they like is the tracking of the deliverables of the project, right? So that's another important from project management perspective as well, wherein you have a bunch of deliverables, for example, functional specifications, technical specifications, and of course the actual solution, which is the development and configuration that you're doing, and you need to know what exactly is happening with those deliverables, you know. And then you have, especially in the agile mode, if you're starting a wave next week and then you don't have the functional specifications ready for that wave, how do you track that, right? And then, you know, you create an Excel sheet and then say, okay, this Excel has to be ready by this amount of time and so on and so forth. So that becomes really cumbersome. And then what we have here is that we can actually track the documents and their statuses as against when they are expected. How do we do that? If you have a work package, which is then assigned to a wave, we know this work package is for a particular business process, then we check that business process whether the relevant documents like a functional specification or a technical specification is available for the next wave or not, and then we can show status about whether documents are overdue, whether they are in progress, whether they are completed and available, and so on and so forth. This again gives the transparency that is required for the project manager to really track all the things that they have to do, right? And finally, the development itself, right, which is the core part, especially in the build phase. What you're tracking is how much of development activity is completed, how much of it is overdue, and so on and so forth. Again, when we talk about overdue, we are then going back to the project management capability to actually know when is it due, etc. So we really integrate all the different elements, the project plan, the development, which is then the transport request and everything, the documentation, everything is working together as one unit, and that's very important to understand because it's a very tightly integrated offering in terms of how you would like to run your projects in an agile and agile mode, for example.
A lot of information, right?
Yeah.
I think it's starting to get tough, right?
Yes.
Oh, here we go. This is the work package.
Yeah. So here I drill down into a work package. I just quickly wanted to show this because this is also quite interesting. So what we have here is that a work package in the world of focus build is really the core element in the build phase, which is then having all the different elements in it, right? For example, a work package is something that you would assign to a wave, and in the world of focus build is really the core element in the build phase, which is then having all the different elements in it, right? For example, a work package is something that you would assign to a wave, and that's what you want to deliver. But the work package also has functional specifications attached to it, development objects attached to it, transport requests attached to it, and everything. So everything is available for the functional consultant here. For example, if you want to know what are the dates, when is this work package created, when is the decision made about approval, when is the implementation date, etc. You can have the dates tracked here. And all these dates are not entered manually. Because this work package is assigned to a particular wave, we know from the project plan when is the wave due and when is the wave starting, etc. So we can actually derive these dates from the project plan. And that makes it much more easier. So you're not figuring out in each work package level what is the date, what should I put, etc. You're actually deriving it from the project so that we can really track it in an integrated manner. Quickly, a couple of other things as well. Of course, you can communicate like any other application within Solution Manager, back and forth discussion about this work package with the architect, with the business process expert, and so on and so forth. All that happens here. We also have documentation, which means that all the functional specifications, technical specifications related to this work package are available here. And that's very important to understand. We are not uploading them against the work package, which means that we're not creating another repository of documents. We are actually making it available, which means that when you want to upload a document, you can directly drag and drop that particular document into the documentation tab, and then it goes and sits in the same process documentation that we have shown in the previous demo, right? So we're not creating a duplicate repository where we store now function specifications for the work packages. They are again going back into the same solution, same process documentation that we have there. And finally, the scope itself, which means that how many transports, work items that you need, etc., is also defined in this work package. So this is a Fiori application that we have created as part of Focus Build, so that everything that is required for a process expert or a functional consultant to actually work in a given project is then available as well, right?
Terrific.
Matthias?
Thank you very much.
Sure. Can we switch back to the slides, please?